these are very special cards. I've passed them out in the past, but I think it's been a while. These are drug discount cards. The program is free, no cost. If you look on the back of the fixed minis you need, if you look at the card on the back, you'll see the list of all the pharmacies that this card is good at. There's a lot of them. So if you have a prescription from a doctor, you can take the prescription and the card to any of those pharmacies and they will give you a discount. Typically you'll get at least a 20% discount on brand drugs, and I've had a couple of clients that have gotten as much as a 50% discount. Now, why would you use this? All insurance policies that include drug coverage have what's called a formulary. The formulary is the list of approved drugs. If I were running the insurance industry, I would call it the list of approved drugs, but I'm not, so we call it a formulary. If you are prescribed a drug that is not in the formulary of the insurance company that you have a policy with, you don't have any coverage for that drug. You're going to pay retail when you go to the pharmacy. In that case, it would be good to take this card in there and find out what the discount is, and perhaps buy it using the card. Now, the card is free, the program is free, you do not have to use it, but it does give you the opportunity to look at alternative costs. Another example might be maybe you have a drug plan that has a large deductible, and a new drug is prescribed to you in the middle of the year, and you haven't bought any drugs up to that point, and so you're going to be paying full cost of that drug until you meet your deductible, and on 1st of January, all deductibles reset. So if this does happen, it might make sense to use the discount card until the 1st of the year when your deductible resets. Why would you want to pay retail for a drug to build up your deductible and have the deductible reset on the 1st of January? There's at least 2 cases where this card may come in handy. The card, as I said earlier, is free. The program is free. I have lots of these cards. If you know anybody that wants it, just let me know. It's just it's something that may end up saving you some money. All right. Okay. So let's talk about the slides I just handed out. What I'm going to talk about is what's available today. As I'm sure you are all aware, open enrollment is closed for plans that are compliant with the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act is known by many people as Obamacare. It is affordable only if somebody else is paying for it, but it's the Affordable Care Act. But open enrollment is closed. So the only way you can get a plan today that is ACA compliant is if you have what's called a qualifying event. So open enrollment will open again on the 15th of October. It will end on the 7th of December, and coverage will start on the 1st of January. Unless you have a qualifying event. If you have a qualifying event, you have 30 days from that qualifying event to sign up, and you can now get coverage. And you can enroll through Covered California or not through Covered California, it doesn't matter. Incidentally, any plan that's available in Covered California is also available outside of Covered California for the exact same amount of money. They're called mirror plans. There are additional plans outside Covered California that are not available in Covered California. But if your income is going to qualify for you for a subsidy, actually it's a tax credit to help pay for your insurance, you have to buy it in Covered California through the Covered California website. But if you're not going to qualify anyway, so you may as well buy it outside, you have more options. Okay? The slides I gave you, there's the slide here, benefit eligibility triggers. These are some of the qualifying events, which if you have one of those, then you can get a policy outside of open enrollment. Now, a lot of insurance companies are complaining about this qualifying event situation because they're losing a lot of money. People are not buying insurance, and then they have need, and so they find a way to get themselves a qualifying event. there's a good chance that what the government's gonna do is they're gonna change the rules and say, it's a qualifying event only if you already had insurance. So if you move into a new area, or your doctor quits or whatever, those are qualifying events. But right now, if that happens, you can get a policy even though you did not have previously had one. So what's an ACA compliant plan? There are 4 kinds of plans. They're called tiers: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. For people that are in their 20s, there's also a catastrophic, which is worse than bronze, but if you're outside your 20s, then it has to be one of these 4. Any one of those 4 plans have to meet minimum essential benefits. There are benefits that have been defined by the legislation that says it has to be included, such as mammograms and pap smears and PSA tests and cholesterol counts and things of that nature. Those are they all have to be in there. And preventive care with no copay at all. So a bronze plan is called a 60% plan. Silver is 70, gold is 80, platinum is 90. That's actuarial value. Now what does that mean? What that means is for a bronze plan, which is 60%, for the average person across the entire country that has a bronze plan, 60% of their health care costs, not their premium, the health care costs, will be covered by this plan. If you have a silver across the country, the average silver plan is going to cover 70% of your health care costs. Gold is 80, platinum is 90. Now the problem is that nobody is average. So let's talk about what a typical bronze plan is. It will have a large deductible, $5,000 typically, or more. Once you've met that deductible, you will pay 40%, the insurance company will pay 60%, until you finally have spent a total of $6,250, at which time your share drops to 0 and the insurance company is now covering everything. But you're on the hook for the first $5,000, roughly. It could be a little bit, give or take a little bit, but that's typical. Yes, Frank?
If you have a medical problem and it goes past January 1, as you say, if it's the same medical problem going back for another appointment or something, is it a new deductible?
Yes, new deductible. Deductibles and out-of-pockets reset on the 1st of January. Now, silver plan has a lower deductible. It's a $2,000 deductible, typically, $2,000, $2,200, something like that. The co-insurance is now 30%. You pay 30, insurance company pays 70. The out-of-pocket maximum is still $6,250. Okay, now clearly the silver is better than the bronze. The gold has no deductible at all. Coverage starts immediately. You pay 20%, they pay 80%. Clearly better than the silver or the gold. I mean, silver or the bronze. But the out-of-pocket maximum is still $6,250. The platinum plan, which is the best plan you can get, it's called a Cadillac plan, is 0 deductible. You pay 10%, they pay 90%, and the out-of-pocket maximum is only $4,000. So let's give a couple of examples. Let's suppose you incur $4,000 worth of expenses during the year, medical expenses. If you have a bronze plan, your 60% plan has covered how much? 0%. Even though it's a 60% plan, it paid 0 because you never even met the deductible. Okay? Your out-of-pocket cost is $4,000, you get to pay all of it. If you have a silver plan and you have $4,000 worth of expenses, the insurance is going to pay 70% after you spend the first $2,000, because that's what your deductible is. So your out-of-pocket cost in that case is $2,000 plus 30% of the difference, which is a total of $2,600. Okay, the silver was better than the bronze. That's what you expect. It's a 70% plan, not a 60, and of course it's more expensive. The gold plan has no deductible at all. You pay 20% of the $4,000, so you're going to pay. You're going to pay. Do the math. 800. Thank you. And they're going to pay the rest of it. Gold's better.
What about platinum?
Platinum, I don't even talk about platinum. Very few people buy platinum.
Really?
It's really expensive.
Oh.
Yeah, really. If money is no object, Ed, we'll sell you a platinum. But also you platinum anytime you want, of course. Okay, so now let's suppose that during the year you have a bad year and you end up having appendicitis and your appendix bursts and they put you in a hospital. You're going to hospital for a week. Now, that week in the hospital, including the surgeon and all that, get you all taken care of, is going to be a nice little bill of $100,000. So let's talk about your 60% plan, your bronze plan. What's going to happen if you have $100,000 worth of expenses? Well, you have met your out-of-pocket maximum, which is $6,250, which is a whole lot more than 60%, right? If you had a silver plan, how much would you pay? $6,250. The silver plan was no better than the bronze because you had a bad year. If you have a gold plan, your out-of-pocket is $6,250. Exact same number you had for silver, exact same number you had for bronze. Okay? So you can buy a bronze plan, save a whole lot of money instead of the gold, and if you have a bad year, that was a good deal. If you have a middling year, not so good deal. So it's not obvious which plan you should pick. It depends on what your comfort is with having a large bill before the insurance company starts, what your comfort with how much can you afford for premium. But the interesting thing about it is that the 60%, 70%, 80%, and 90% are sort of meaningless as far as an individual is concerned. It's all based on averages. Okay? But if you have that $100,000 year, the bronze plan was as good as the gold. Okay, now, so what I started by saying that we are out of open enrollment, which means that unless you have a qualifying event, you cannot get insurance right now until a plan during open enrollment, which would start on the 1st of January. So if you really need insurance, what do? Well, we have these things called short-term insurance plans. They're available now. Anybody can get them. You can get them for up to 6 months in California. In many states, you can get them for up to 12 months, but California only 6 months. If you signed up for one of these today, it could start tomorrow. You can either get it month to month, say I'll take it for every month up to 6 months, and then it'll cancel, but I can cancel sooner if I want to. Or you can say I need it for 91 days, and I can buy 91 days worth of coverage. Now, when would you do that? You would do that if you have a new job, and your new job has a waiting period for that coverage to start, and maybe it's a 60-day waiting period. You could buy a short-term plan for the 60 days. You should know at the end of 60 days it's going to end, but you know your new coverage is going to start. If you tell the insurance company exactly how many days you want, it's less expensive than month to month. It's just the way it is. It can be renewed once. Now, it is not ACA compliant. It does not have all of the minimum essential benefits that are defined by the ACA legislation. It does not cover pre-existing conditions. You can actually be declined. This is not guaranteed issue like the ACA is, okay? And you're all aware, I assume, that if you do not have insurance, you will pay a penalty. There's a mandate. And the penalty, if you go more than 3 months during the calendar year without insurance, you're subject to that penalty, which this year I believe is 2% or 2.5% of your annual income. And short-term insurance, since it is not ACA compliant, does not stop you from getting hit with that penalty. On the other hand, it's better than no insurance at all. And it's perfectly fine insurance as long as you don't have a pre-existing condition you need to have covered. And you are going to have to pay the penalty at the end of the year, but at least you're covered. If you have that $100,000 a year we were talking about because of the appendicitis, this is going to cover it. Okay? Another insurance that's available is small group insurance. You buy this through an employer. So if you are an employer, you can offer it to your employees. This can start anytime. If you're an employer and you want to start covering your employees, get signed up right now in July, it can start on the 1st of August. It's guaranteed. It's a guaranteed issue just like the ACA compliant. It is ACA compliant in fact. The group size, up until this year, you had to have at least 2 eligible employees, and the maximum was 50. As of this year, the maximum has now gone up to 100. So 2 to 100 is small group insurance. You must have at least one non-spouse W-2 employee. So a husband and wife, we used to write group for a husband and wife company, no longer. Husband and wife will now have to be written on an individual or a family plan. You have to have at least two, and one has to be a non-spouse W-2. The employer has to pay at least 50% of the premium. And, but they do not have to pay for dependents. It's very easy to set it up so that the share that the employees pay can be set up pre-tax. From an employee's point of view, if the employer is paying for 50% of it and they're paying their share for pre-tax, usually it's less expensive than an individual plan with a subsidy through Covered California. So for an employee, it's a good deal. For the employer, it's a good deal because it's easier to attract and retain people if you're offering health insurance. At least 75% of your eligible employees have to participate unless they're already covered by some other group plan. That's a waiver. I also sell Medicare supplement plans, also called Medigap, available for anyone turning 65. I just passed out a flyer. I'm teaching a Medicare class a week from tonight in downtown San Jose. My next class currently is not scheduled until October 13th in Willow Glen. So if you know anybody that is about to turn 65, or anybody who's already on 65, at 65, and on Medicare, Medicare is complicated. I can make it a whole lot simpler. I teach these classes. Glad to have anybody that wants to attend. It turns out that once you go on Medicare with the Medicare supplement policy, you can actually get coverage that's better than Platinum for less cost than you were paying when you were 64. So as long as Medicare lasts, it's a good deal for people turning 65. I also offer ancillary products, which include dental insurance. It's available for individuals or through companies. There are lots of carriers. Delta's the most popular. They have the largest network. There are PPOs and HMOs for dental. Also offer vision insurance. Lots of carriers, but most of them for groups only. There are a couple that do offer individual coverage. And I also offer a little bit of life, a little bit of disability, but it's not my focus. My focus is on health insurance with the dental and the vision. And that's it. Questions? Yes, Audrey.
I was just speaking to a client of mine who's about to get laid off in about a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a family, and her husband is also laid off in the same company.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to get jobs that have health insurance, but in the meantime, of all these options here, short term perhaps might be helpful or not?
I would suggest if they have a qualifying event, which they will, when they lose that current group coverage, I would suggest they sign up for an ACA compliant plan, either in or out of Covered California, doesn't matter. The short-term insurance would be for somebody that doesn't have a qualifying event.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Doug?
You'd mentioned that the percentages really don't matter, aren't really reflective of individual ones.
Mm-hmm.
How does it vary for individuals? I mean, how do you know? Obviously, you come talk with you, but
Well, you don't know because you can't predict what kind of health bills you're going to have this year, can you? You don't know. Are you going to have a $4,000 a year out of pocket? Are you going to have a $2,000? Or you're not going to go to the doctor at all? Or are you going to spend a week in a hospital, $100,000? You don't really know. So the question is, how much exposure are you willing to accept? Okay.
what I was basically asking, let's say you get a bronze plan,
Mm-hmm.
and you said that the 50% or 60% isn't really 60% for everybody.
No.
How do you know what you're gonna pay?
Well, you know what
upfront?
your premium's gonna be.
Yeah.
And you also know if you have to go to the doctor, you're gonna pay the first $5,000, that much you know, right? And then if you have more than $5,000, then the insurance is gonna kick in, at some point, your share drops to zero.
But it will
Okay.
be 60% before you.
No, it will not be 60%. If we take everybody in this room and they all have a bronze plan, and this group may be large enough that when you look at everybody's bronze plan, add it all up, on average, you guys are 60%. But you could be zero. Alan, you could be 100%. Christie, you could be 40. It doesn't matter. I mean,
Who
there's no
decides?
way of telling. It depends on what happens to you during the year. Okay?
I think the
That's
issue is
confusing.
what your medical expenses are over the year, and it has to do with the out-of-pocket maximum
Okay.
and the deductible, and that's how it all plays out. But in terms of, it's gonna be 70% versus 60% or 50% on the other policies, and what the out-of-pocket maximum is, and what the deductible is, and then you just figure in how much your expenses are.
And all bronze plans are similar, because they've all got deductibles that are roughly $5,000. They've also got an out-of-pocket maximum that's roughly $6,250. Because if one company says, well, I'm gonna do my bronze plan, I'm gonna do a $3,000 deductible instead of a $5,000 like everybody else is doing, and I'll steal all that business. Well, the minute they put a $3,000 deductible, it's not a 60% plan anymore, because they're gonna be covering sooner, and therefore they're gonna cover more, so the actuarial value won't be 60%. And the law says that the actuarial value has to be plus or minus 2% of the target. So a bronze plan actuarially has to be between 58 and 62%. You could not buy a 65% actuarial value plan today because it isn't legal, unless it was a short-term plan, in which case it doesn't have to be ACA compliant anyway. Okay, does that make any sense? Okay, Christie says I gotta stop.
Oh,
Yeah, we're getting way over time.
Okay.
oh.
Ask me after, okay? Thanks, guys.
Okay.